Move right in to the tonight's meeting, June 27th, 2024, Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meeting. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and online. I want to thank you for your presence at tonight's Board Mayor and Alderman meeting. My name is Mayor Ron Williams, the fourth elected mayor of town of Farragut. We appreciate that each of you are taking your time from your busy schedules to attend our meeting to see our town government works. All Farragut Board Mayor and Alderman meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. All board meetings are recorded and can be viewed at a later time on the YouTube channel. If you are in attendance, you should be able to pick up a copy of tonight's agenda at the door when you came in tonight. If you were not able to attend tonight or viewing from home, then the agenda is available online at our website. For those in attendance that would like to speak, please pick up a blue card at the door, write in your name and the agenda number that you wish to speak about or comment on. There will also be time reserved at the end of the meeting tonight for citizens' comments on non-agenda subjects, which will also require that you fill out a blue card with citizen comments as the time you wish to speak. To conduct efficient business-like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how its meetings will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, to assure all points of view are heard and considered, and to provide common courtesy to everyone in attendance. We ask that you observe the established meeting rules when addressing the board. At the beginning of the presentation, please state your name and address for the record. We ask that you address all of your questions to the mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor. Please do not direct your questions to the alderman or the staff members. If necessary, the mayor may call on one of the alderman or staff members concerning your question or your comments. Once you've given your input, please return to your seat so that we can continue with the meeting. We ask that every speaker avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or other inappropriate conduct and address just the issues. Speakers should strive to avoid redundancy and should have their own original viewpoints. We ask that you please also stay on topic for that particular agenda item. We're meeting here tonight doing the people's business. Okay. A meeting called to order. We'll start tonight's meeting with a roll call by our town recorder for a quorum prior to standing for a silent prayer. The pledge will be followed. We'll be following the prayer, silent prayer to our country's flag, which will be led tonight by Vice Mayor Louise Pavlin.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any agenda amendments?
No, sir.
None?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Let the record show the June 13th, 2024 agenda has been approved as posted. Okay, any amendments to the posted minutes?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Then I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, if in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Let the record show that the minutes have been approved as posted. Mayor's report. I will start with the Town of Farragut Planning Commission appointments of Ron Pinchot, Scott Russ, and Ed St. Clair to be on the Planning Commission. I'll need a motion for that,
Oh, you need a motion?
please.
I didn't realize that. Move to approve. I don't think you
Don't
need a motion.
No, sir,
No?
it's just your
No?
appointment only, Mayor.
Okay.
Those are your appointments.
Okay. In that case, they've been appointed. And that would be Ron Pinchot, Scott Russ, and Ed St. Clair. Also, I'd like to remind everyone of our upcoming 4th of July parade. For all of you who maybe have never attended, the town of Farragut welcomes you to attend the largest 4th of July parade in the great state of Tennessee. We'll move on now to the Vice Mayor's report.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. I wanted to address, Mr. Williams from Virtue Road had addressed the Virtue Road project that we have in our capital investment program. He had some questions about the 10-foot trail, and I felt comfortable enough last time to address it, but I thought I wanted to get my ducks in a row. I apologize for not getting this, Allison, soon enough to get into the slide deck, but the Virtue Road, the NEPA and design are a project that's funded through what is that called? A Surface Transportation Block Grant, which is part of the Transportation Improvement Plan for the Knoxville Regional Transportation Planning Organization. When we get, and that's, so it's an 80-20 split. But when we get those grants, we are tied to TDOT standards. We don't use our own standards. Our standards are a little bit more forgiving than TDOT standards. And TDOT has their own multimodal design requirements, and this is a multimodal project. Our road projects are all multimodal road projects. We have a transportation network that includes space for, we strive for space for cars and pedestrians and bicycles. So in the Virtue Road project, we are designing a roadway and a one 10-foot multi-directional, multi-use trail. If you go to, I've given you a clip from Chapter 3, the multimodal design. Section 6 is shared use path. A shared use path is a combined bikeway and pedestrian facility located within an independent right-of-way or located within the street right-of-way and physically separated from motor vehicle traffic by an open space or barrier. Most shared use paths are designated for two-way travel and are designed for both transportation and recreational purposes. This is the design that we have in Union Road. We approved Union Road with one 10-foot multi-directional, multi-use trail. The original plan was to have 2 4-foot bike lanes and 2 5-foot sidewalks on either side, realizing that people drive very fast in our community and bike lanes tend not to get used. So consolidating all of that into one 10-foot multi-directional, multi-use trails actually conserves space because you have your 2 4-foot, that's 9 feet on either side, plus the separation from the grass separation. Using a one 10-foot trail with the grass separation is actually efficient use of space. So that's what we did in Union Road, and we've brought that over to Virtue Road because we really don't need sidewalks on both sides of that road either. Path widths is section 604 in chapter 3 says the standard shared use path width is 10 feet with 2 feet clear zones on either side of path. In constrained location, the width can be reduced to 8 feet with severe constraints are present. So that was visited in the Union Road project, and TDOT determined that there were no severe constraints. I have no idea what the Virtue Road pathway looks like. Right now, what we have covered is NEPA and design. That is what's been funded in the 21 to 24 Transportation Improvement Program at the TPO. We are requesting federal funding for the right-of-way and construction phases in the fiscal year 24 to 27 TIP through the Transportation Planning Organization. Typically, if the TPO has funded your design and your NEPA, they will go along and fund the right-of-way and construction. But that, I guess that, is that being made, determination being made this year at the TPO level?
Yes.
So we'll know whether we have funding for that or not. So that's,
July.
okay. So that explains why there's a 10-foot trail, because TDOT requires it in a multimodal transportation network. So I just wanted to give you guys that background. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. That's good research. Next, we'll have Alderman, and I think Alderman, you have asked to speak.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I just want to remind all the candidates and especially the Knox County candidates, you know, you can put your signs in the right-of-way in Knox County. But in the town of Farragut, we have an ordinance that doesn't allow you to do that. And we've ended up with some signs in the right-of-way already. They've been removed. This staff does an excellent job of getting out there and trying to get them. The only problem with that, and they do that where they really don't have to, because the code says if you put a sign in the right-of-way, you'll be notified And it's a separate violation for every day the sign stays in the right-of-way and a separate citation, so they could take you to court. They don't, quite honestly, they get out there, they try to get them. This puts a hardship on Holly. Takes Holly away from her normal job, and it puts her in extreme danger sometimes. Because some of these signs you can't get to, she has to find a place to park, walk and go pull them up, take them to the maintenance yard. Then you guys can go get them and put them back up in a legal place. But please, if you would, just pay attention. If you don't know where the right-of-way is, if you take a tape measure and come 12 feet off of the pavement or 12 feet from back of the curb, you're going to be good. They're not going to get your sign. So please, let's all just kind of pay a little bit of attention and help us staff that and help Holly out, okay? Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. And just for information purposes, the signs that you have seen out are all legal as far as size. Also, one thing to remember too is if you put it on commercial property, it's required that you talk with the owner of that property and get their permission to do so. So we'll move on now to anyone else. Any other aldermen have anything to report? If not, then we'll start with our resolutions and ordinance tonight, and we have 3 of those for public hearing and review. And we'll start with the public hearing of ordinance 24-06, an ordinance on the second reading to amend the Farragut Municipal Code, Chapter 109, signs to provide for canopy signs and projection signs in a portion of the town center. Jay Fielden, applicant.
I'm Farragut. I'm the Assistant Community Development Director. I'm here for this item. It's ordinance 2406 for second reading to amend the Farragut Municipal Code, Chapter 109, signs to provide for canopy and projecting signs. As you know, these 2 sign types are currently not provided for in the code, and they're being targeted for the mixed-use town center area. The canopy signs would be mounted on hard structural canopies that are flat roofed, and the projecting signs would be mounted to buildings above 10 feet, either on the second floor or the portion of the building that appears to be the second floor. The amendments have been reviewed and recommended to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen by both the Planning Commission and the Visual Resources Review Board. And the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approved the ordinance on first reading at its July 13th meeting.
June 13th.
June 13th meeting. And there haven't been any changes since that time to the proposed ordinance, so staff can recommend approval of the ordinance on second and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've discussed this the last time, but we'll go ahead and do it again, as we usually do, and we'll start with the Vice Mayor.
I have nothing.
Alderman Burnett.
No other questions.
Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Alderman White.
I spoke against this last time, and of course, I still don't like them. I think they cheapen the buildings. These type of signs, there's a reason they weren't allowed before, and there's a reason they shouldn't be allowed now because they're tacky looking. And I just think it's a mistake. I thought it was going to be an ideal spot for a town like Farragut. We think we're a little special. We are, but it's going to look like a Kmart shopping center with a 5 and dime in it. I just don't like them, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And yes, there used to be a Kmart there. I guess everybody remembers that. Okay, at this point, I'll ask, well, myself, I have no comment, and we'll say that discussion is completed. I'll ask the town recorder for a roll call vote.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
No.
Vice Mayor Poplin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show the amendment to of Chapter 109 by ordinance 24-6 has been approved on second reading with a 4-to-1 vote by roll call. Okay, next will be a public hearing of ordinance 24-08, an ordinance on the second reading to amend the Farragut zoning map for parcels 070 and 072, tax map 142, between Waverly Court subdivision and Baldwin Park subdivision, which is located at 341 Boring Road, from R1 to R2 and to R3. 12 acres, homestead and land holdings applicant.
Good evening, I'm Mark Shipley, Community Development Director. I'll review this item for you. This involves two parcels that are situated between Waverly Court and Baldwin Park subdivision off of Boring Road. They're currently zoned R1 and R2. The applicant is requesting to rezone both parcels to R3, small lot, single family. That is the same zoning district that Baldwin Park is currently zoned to the east. It is less dense as far as development density than the Waverly Court subdivision, which is R4. So when this was reviewed with the Planning Commission, they did unanimously recommend approval of ordinance 24-08. This was also unanimously approved on first reading on June 13th. There have been no changes to this ordinance since first reading, and the staff recommends approval of this rezoning request through ordinance 24-08 on second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, will you be resistance on this one?
No, sir.
Discussion, we'll start off, Alderman White.
None? Thank you.
Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
I have nothing.
I have nothing as well. And this is second reading, so we will ask for Town Recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Podlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that ordinance 24-8 has been approved on the second reading on 5-0 roll call vote. Okay, next will be final ordinance on agenda. Will be a public hearing of ordinance 24-12, an ordinance on the second reading to amend the general fund and capital investment program budget FY23, FY24, passed by ordinance 2307.
Yes, sir. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and there's been no changes since the first reading. The summary is the general fund will be increased by $67,000 for expenditures. The capital investment program will be increased by $2.9 million, and that's for various projects that were in fiscal year 23 that we're moving to FY24. And the motion is to approve ordinance 24-12 on second and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, resident
I
comments?
do have two tonight. The first one's Alex Kane.
Okay, Mr. Kane, would you like to step in?
Can I reserve my time to the end, sir?
To the end of what?
Can I reserve my time to the citizens forum at the end?
Till when?
So you don't want to talk to this item?
Okay.
Okay, he wants to be part of public forum.
Okay, so our next one is Reno Roberts.
Change that to public forum on his
I will.
blue card. Okay. Mr. Roberts?
Okay, both for
Excuse me.
citizen comment.
Same thing with Mr. Roberts?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We can do that. That works. Okay. Well, with that, we will move on to discussion amongst the aldermen and Alderman White.
One question. It comes to mind that sometime back we voted a raise for our town attorney and his law firm to represent us. But I see in here we've got legal services increased $40,000. Is that part of that, or is that something different?
I'll try to address that. I think that the board knows very well that we have been defending ourselves in various litigation this past year because those are expensive things to have to defend yourself, and it takes time and effort to do that. That's where that additional dollars are going to.
Okay.
Is that the only one?
That's all I have.
That's all you had, okay. Then we'll move on to Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Vice Mayor.
I have nothing.
I don't either. Discussion complete. I'll ask Town Recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Podlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that the ordinance 24-12 has been approved on the second reading by roll call vote of 5-0. And next will be citizen comments. Always, at the end of our business meetings, we have reserved some time for citizen comment. Looks like we do have 2 people signed up, and we'll start off with Mr. Kane. Are you ready now? If so, please step up to the podium, microphone, and be recognized. State your name and address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes to give your comments. I advise our board and staff members to take notes for future reference or questions.
Alex Kane, 524 Wyndham Hall. And for disclosure, I am a candidate for the North Ward. My comment kind of goes right along with what Alderman White said just a few minutes ago. My question was, what is the reason for the extra $40,000 going into the legal fund? And my biggest concern was if it had to do with the discussion at the last BOMA meeting in regards to the Turkey Creek Greenway extension and the issues coming from the citizen that, mentioned that they were going to have a lawsuit or bring a lawsuit against the town. And that was my concern, is if that's what that money was for, because Mr. Smoke mentioned that they would have to search for outside counsel, and that's what I just wondered. That was my biggest question.
I guess you like to answer that, sir?
I don't mind addressing. I don't know what the additional $40,000 is for. I didn't have anything to do with the budget. What I do is provide services on an hourly basis. My hourly rate is, my normal hourly rate, for the record, is about $285 to $325 an hour. I charge the town $235 an hour and have for years. The reason more time has had to be spent lately is probably going to be disclosed pretty soon, now that the judge has dismissed the lawsuit that was filed by people who, in my opinion, are anti-town of Farragut. And so I've had to spend time keeping up with a federal court litigation which involved 11 defendants, some of the town people and some of the people in the community, and it's just taken more time than I normally have to spend on the town matters.
All right, thank
There
you.
have been also, we've had a lot of stuff going on in the town that has required my attention. So, I mean, it's the thing goes up and down depending on what the amount of the work is that has to be done, basically.
Sure. I know you weren't at the last meeting. I was, and that's why I'm not questioning why you weren't here. Mr. Smoke talked about having to retain outside counsel, so I just want a clarification.
In the last, I will be clear about that too. My law firm and I personally have been involved representing Shirley Harkins' family and Shirley Harkins for about 25 years now in various matters involving their family. And so I have a conflict. I can't advise the town. So there's no money being billed by me to the town for advice on that issue because I can't represent the town on that issue. They're going to have to find somebody else to give them advice about that, and they know that, and so
All right.
that's
Like I
the
said,
long and
thank you.
short of that.
Appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Randall Roberts.
And Mr. Roberts, you please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes as well.
Me, Randall Roberts, 1195 Butternut Lane. We're back on the situation, what was the $40,000 for? And if this does come down to it being somehow tied in with the Turkey Creek extension of the walkway or even the Sonia Drive work where probably eminent domain is going to come in again, I'm concerned that it's looking like the board is throwing down the gauntlet saying, by golly, we're going to do this no matter what. We're going to come after your property. We're talking about cutting 25 feet off the front of these people's property. And everybody I've talked to since this whole thing came up last time, eminent domain is not something they want done anywhere. And these lawsuits that are going to entail, if we continue on this walkway, is going to be a lot more than the $40,000 we're adding to this, because the people who own the property just on Turkey Creek Drive they're going to fight. The people on Sonia Drive will fight. I mean, it's going to cost us more money. It's going to look really bad on the town. As far as these walkways goes, has anyone ever done any sort of metrics on where these walkways, who's using these walkways, how much they actually get used. I mean, I know there's the connectivity we want to get in the town, but if there's no reason to sit there and push this connectivity if nobody's going to be using these things. We have to prioritize, and the money can be used better elsewhere. We can work on our traffic problems. I mean, there's so many problems. We don't have enough money to fix them all. But this, like I said, these walkways, fighting that is just not the battle we want right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your opinion.
Can I just make a real quick comment? Please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. We've been building sidewalks and trails for more than, what, late 80s. We had existing sidewalks when the town was founded. From what I can tell, Kingston Pike, the sidewalk at Kingston Pike and Campbell Station existed before the town, because the school's there. The sidewalk on Sonia is in the parental responsibility zone. Are we really not going to fund a sidewalk in the parental responsibility zone? Are we going to leave kids to have to walk in the street in the parental? I don't understand this. I don't understand that part of it. The Turkey Creek Road, we've worked with residents. They have concerns. They have valid concerns about the front of their property. I don't like eminent domain. I'm the one that has defended property rights on social media for years, because people seem to think that the town could have stopped growth at some point, that we can deny the rest of the property owners who have zoning for commercial, office, or residential, that they can't use their property because everybody wants to stop growth. We can't do that. We have about a 50-foot right-of-way. I don't know if we have it now on our collectors, major collectors. I think it's 50 feet. Is that correct?
Major collectors?
Is it 50 feet or 60 feet?
60.
We could potentially work with putting a sidewalk. It's not ideal, but putting a sidewalk back of curb. You have it on Kingston Pike because that's where it would only fit. There are options to look at that the property owners could be more comfortable with. I don't know. I'm not out there. I haven't looked at the engineering plans. But we're in design phase only. And working with the residents on, especially impacted property owners, has always been something that's been important to us. We did it on Union Road. We went through so many different renditions of Union Road to address the property owners that live on the Union Road corridor. I fought for a reduced design speed because one, it slows down the road, but two, the higher the design speed, the more impact you have on that corridor. And we were able to reduce the impact on the residents who are directly impacted by that road construction. But we're putting a trail in there that is part of a multimodal design. In fact, that's why we got the design exception to begin with, because we were doing a multimodal trail, a multimodal transportation plan. This is what we do. We work with our community. We work with our residents to make a safer community. I'm really stunned that there's going to be pushback on putting a sidewalk in the parental responsibility zone. We're building sidewalk everywhere in Knox County. They're making an effort to get sidewalks built in the parental responsibility zone. We have a duty to provide for that in a town that values pedestrian activity. The middle school's not moving. Middle schoolers are the ones that want to move around and get on their bikes and not have to get on a bus or get in a car. That time before and after school is important for them. And we have the duty to provide for them a safe ability to get to and from school. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Alderman Burnett, do you have anything?
I mean, I don't have a lot to add right now. It's still got to go through planning commission. It's not at the board level, so coming at us like we're supporting it and pushing it really doesn't make any sense if you're staying involved with where things are at. It is in the budget, but it hasn't made it anywhere close to the board. And I also think it just doesn't make very much sense to say nobody's using that stretch of the road for a greenway right now. So why would we build something? There's nothing there. Nobody's using it. Nobody ever used the road between Andover and Everett. Nobody was there. You would never say, oh, there's so many people using it, we need a greenway. No, it's so unsafe they don't use a greenway. And this is one of those areas, of course nobody's using it. I don't want my kids driving that road because it's not widened like the rest of Turkey Creek. So just saying that nobody uses it, why would you build something there, just patently doesn't make any sense because it's so unsafe to use right now. That's why it's even being considered. So it's a long ways off from it being on our plate. Why, people on Nextdoor think that we're pushing this. This is with Planning Commission, and it's not even through Planning Commission. So once whatever happens there, then it'll come to us to look at, but we're a long ways off from that. And so I realize everybody's trying to get political speeches in and points at the board, but it's not with the board. It's not here. We got plenty of time to continue talking to the residents and to continue seeing what Planning Commission does and the planning services that continue to roll out.
And to add to your point, that stretch of sidewalk between Andover and Everett Road is heavily used now.
Of course it is.
So,
Okay, Alderman Mayor?
Nothing else to add.
Alderman White?
Nothing.
Well, the Sonia Drive is something that has been needed for quite some time. That area has got traffic calming for a reason. People drive too fast on a very narrow road. And so if you've got kids that's in that zone that's going to walk or ride their bike to school, they typically will walk on that side of the road. And it's where the sidewalk is, they walk on it. By putting it all the way across that area, then you are making it safer for the kids that are walking to school. As far as the inconvenience for the drivers, I don't see that to be an inconvenience for a driver. It's really safer for him because hopefully he'll never hit a kid. So that's all I've got. And if we have no other blue cards,
No, sir.
we do not, then it'll be the town administrator's report up next.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for a little clarity, the budget amendment that the board just approved was actually for this current fiscal year that we're in. So this is work that Tom has already performed for us and has been doing throughout the year, as I mentioned earlier. And that fiscal year ends in 3 days. And so next July 1 starts the new fiscal year, and that's when we'll have a new budget for those legal services and for all of our services that we provide to the community. Next week, we have got 8 sailors from the USS Farragut that are going to be here. We're really looking forward to working with them. Christy Vining in our tourism department has been working with them for the last several months on all sorts of activities that they're going to do while they're here. But the big one for us is going to be Wednesday afternoon at 12 o'clock in this room. We're going to have a picnic for them, so it's just a come for the community if you'd like to meet them and visit with the 8 sailors from the Farragut. USS Farragut, then I encourage you to. I think the commander of the ship is going to be here, so that's exciting that he's coming as well.
And David,
then-
if I could add,
Yeah.
if you saw previous social media announcements, it was at Founders Park, and I had it saved in my calendar at Founders Park. It's now here, based on the weather and the temperatures.
Correct. Great point. And so that is going to be Wednesday. And then, of course, the July 4th parade, as the mayor mentioned earlier, our big event for the year. The sailors will also be walking in that event, along with 92 participants that we will have in this year's event. Ron Ostrike and his staff, and frankly, all of our staff, is going to be out there working the event. And so we're really looking forward to having a great day next Thursday at the July 4th parade. And the last thing I want to say, because these things don't always happen on board meeting days, is happy birthday, Mayor. I would sing, but nobody wants to hear that. So.
Where's the cake?
I know, right?
I'm going to go have a coffee.
Sorry about that too, Mayor. With budget cuts for the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, David. We'll move on to the town attorney's report.
Well, now that you got me started, I'm going to have to say a little bit more. As you may or may not know, there was a lawsuit filed against the town involving a whole raft of issues that took about 90 pages in the complaint to lay out. And anyway, this lawsuit, and this is your birthday present, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you.
The judge some time ago dismissed the lawsuit. It was involved about 11 plaintiffs. And let me say one thing. I'm going to probably have to come up with a little more concise explanation to be able to put out there so people can really understand what this was about. But, and this is painful for me to have to do this. I was taught, I'm 70 years old, I was taught when I started practicing law that you didn't talk about your lawsuits in public. You don't talk about, you fly under the radar. You don't, it's not something, you don't try your lawsuits in the newspaper because it never works very well that way. Well, in today's world, there is so much social media and so much attention brought to these things, you almost have to have some commentary to some degree to make sure people understand really what is going on. Because if you don't say anything and the other people are saying things, then their view is left as unresponded to. So I'm probably going to have to do more than I have ever done about this particular lawsuit to make sure people understand what it was about. And that will be coming because the judge has now dismissed the case. The plaintiff has filed a motion to ask the judge to reconsider that decision. The judge has now denied that motion. They've asked the judge, because they didn't like his decision, to recuse himself. He's denied that motion. And let me say to you, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I went to law school to learn how to do it. These decisions are well-written decisions. They're based on the law. They're based on the case law that is out there. The judge didn't short shrift anybody. And to suggest they suggest he needed to recuse himself because at one time he worked for the mayor of Chattanooga who was doing a low-cost housing project in Chattanooga, and somehow because of that, he should recuse himself from a case that, as far as I can tell, has nothing to do with low-cost housing in Farragut. But regardless, that's the kind of arguments that we have been trying to deal with in this case. And there, you know, the complaint had like 80 exhibits and 90 pages. I mean, it took hours just to read the daggone thing. And then when you got done reading it, you looked at it and you said, well, what is this about? It has nothing to do with anything. Nothing was tied together. There was no real basis for any of the contentions. There were a lot of statements that people were being bad people without any basis to support it. So anyway, that's just a precursor. You all should know the lawsuit now, the only avenue, I guess, at this point is they could file an appeal to the Sixth Circuit of this last decision that the judge made, but it's been made, and I think the reality of it is at the moment that we can move forward without having to deal with that kind of issue again. And I'll provide further explanation in a way that's a little easier for people to handle. I think something in writing probably will do here shortly, but anyway, that's my report for tonight, unless you have questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? David?
No, but I want to make it clear to David and our excellent town attorney, I was not questioning the $40,000 in thoughts that it might be going for extra legal help there. It's not identified clearly in here. But I did want to know if the $40,000 was to hire an attorney to defend the lawsuit we might have. Based on my comments last time, and my opinion of that, I wanted to know that. But I have no qualm against paying our attorney. He works hard, especially when I need to ask him something.
And I didn't take it personal, so don't think I did.
Alderman Meyer?
Yes, sir.
No, Alderman Burnett?
No, the only thing I'll add is when, of course, I already turned my mic off. Only thing I'll add, I'll say it louder, is when you have questions like this, don't let it burn for 2 weeks. Just email me, dburnett@townoffarragut.org. I can have you an answer turned around usually in less than an hour. We get, I know people get balled up and hold questions in for a while and then get mad and put questions on social media. Just ask. I'd be happy to do it. I know anybody up here would be happy to answer that, and we could save you the time for simple questions like that. Be happy to do it.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Sounds like great advice.
Well, I echo what you say. A lot of people do call me. I get quite a few calls a day, answer a lot of questions, and that's what I'm here for. So I would encourage people to pick up the phone or do as you do a lot of times, just send me an email or text. So, okay, time is approximately, let's see here, 6:41, and without objection, the June 27th, 2023 Farragut Board and Mayor and Aldermen meeting is now adjourned.
Yeah.